Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the fridge. On the menu tonight, World of Tanks. Tonight's gameplay comes from a player by the name of the Moore Clan, and he is showing us how it is done in the T-100 LT. By the end of the battle, this little tier 10 light tank will have spotted almost 9,000 damage, gotten 1 kill and dealt out 296 damage. Before we take a look at this Russian tier 10 light tank, I'm going to plead with you guys and girls. Please, pay attention to this battle and learn something. Scout tanks are the eyes of the team. There to light up enemies for everyone else to damage. This battle earned over 22,000 coin and over 1,800 XP on a standard account. So doing it right is well rewarding. This player knows when and how to move, where enemy tanks will be and how to light them without exposing himself to incoming fire. This is close to the perfect scout game. Without an effective scout, the team is blind and very few players will risk moving into an area without knowing what's there. Without eyes, you cannot fight effectively, so please, all you light tank drivers, find something in this replay to learn from. So, having said that, how does the T-100 LT stack up against the other tier 10 light tanks? Normally I start at firepower, but the cannon is not the most important thing on a scout tank, so let's work this one backwards. The eyes of the team depend on their view range, and the T-100 LT is actually the worst of the light tanks when it comes to visibility, with a view range of only 390 meters. Concealment is another vital statistic for scout tanks, and this is where the T-100 LT comes up trumps. A rating of 19.8, both moving and stationary, is the best of the bunch, so parking this thing in a bush and passive scouting is a valid option. Just make sure you're close enough to the front to get that poor view range actually working. The last aspect of a light tank's holy trinity is mobility. Once again, T-100 LT is looking good. 720 horsepower is better than most, and when you combine that with a mere 15 ton, you get an unbeatable 48 horsepower per ton. Top speed is 3 kilometers an hour slower than the German, but 72 kilometers an hour is nothing to be sneezed at. And 25 kilometers an hour in reverse is as good as it gets. The whole traverse speed is class leading at 58.41 degrees per second. As you can see, the T-100 LT is a very small and incredibly mobile tank. Survivability is not a light tank's strong point, and with only 15 ton, you know that this thing isn't going to have much in the way of armour. Well, that isn't exactly true. 90mm on the front is more than anyone else, and 40mm on the side and the rear, the LT has the most armour of any of the tier 10 light tanks. Turret armour is decent with 180mm on the front and 40mm on the sides and the rear. 1,500 hit points is 100 less than the top tanks and 100 more than the AMX. Now, let's take a look at the gun. Alpha damage is 300 hit points, giving it the weakest punch of the lot. And 230mm of penetration is not good either. It does have a decent rate of fire though, putting a round downrange every 7.64 seconds, better than any of the other tanks. With that reload comes a solid DPM of just under 2,360, second only to the Sheridan. 5 degrees of depression is bad, but understandable when you look at that little pancake turret. And 15 degrees of elevation is solid, but not class leading. Still better elevation than the AMX though. The aim time of 1.92 is quick, but not as quick as the German, although it is still faster than basically everything else. Dispersion is poor. at 0.44. Better only than the derpy Sheridan. Turret traverse is 55.28 degrees per second, which will give you a full turret rotation in a touch over 6.5 seconds. Nothing else in this class comes close. So there we have it, the T-100 LT. I'm not going to give you any tips or personal thoughts on this one because I am totally unsuitable to do so. I don't really drive light tanks, and when I do they have an autoloader, and that gives them a different playstyle. Thanks for stopping by the fridge. Please take the time to visit my Patreon and Twitch pages and consider giving me some support there. It is my wonderful Patreons that enable me to run the giveaways, and to them I give you a special thank you. Thanks again for stopping by. I'll see you again soon.